listening to the Wandering Womb podcast with Jess and Jaimi. Strong women, strong drinks, strong views, and strong language.
Hey. I can't, yeah. Jaimi mimes the intro along it, but from memory.
Yeah, because when we play the intro, we can't hear it.
Yeah, because as we have told you, we do this entire podcast on our phone, so there's not a lot of tech going into this. I am just going to try and reach for my drink.
Reach for your drink.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a really interesting conversation to have, and we've saved it for the podcast.
Yes.
And every time we've attempted to have this conversation, I've been like, no, wait, let's do it on the podcast. So,
I'm not sure what the title of the podcast is going to be, but we're doing it on the hatred of young women, and sort of, I think we originally had gone like teenage girls.
Yeah, for sure.
It's something that we've wanted to talk about for a while, but we've got so many on our podcast list that we've not got round to it. And you might have seen, there's been a viral video going around of a female pilot who's very young.
Is she 20?
22.
22?
Yeah, she's 22 and she's a pilot.
This is amazing.
Yeah. And obviously it has caused a lot of backlash towards her on the internet. So what we wanted to do is I will sort of describe the video, because one of them is just like music and read out what she's written. And then the second is her explaining it.
Yeah.
And so we'll play both of them. And then we're going to discuss this video and then sort of like the wider themes, the wider attitudes, where these come from.
Yeah,
and where me and you have seen it, because we've actually written down, we've got a whole list of young women and teenagers who are hated.
Yep.
And we're going to sort of discuss that. So, for those of you who are on TikTok, you will recognise this sound. And it says, the video is a young woman, in like, I hate saying this, but in the cockpit, and
she's so lesbian. She's like, I'm not saying cockpit. That shit's disgusting.
And she is drinking like an iced coffee. And like sort of dancing around and like pulling a funny face and like joking. And it says, when you remember that you're just a silly 22-year-old teenage girl flying hundreds of people in a jet around all day. And it's basically a trend, is that a silly 22-year-old or 25-year-old teenager.
People say like, I'm just a 25-year-old teenager.
Yeah, and it's
like,
about like, I guess, the way that particularly my generation are growing up. And we're so infantilized. And we have been for so long that we're told that we're children, even when we're not, to the point where we doubt ourselves, right? And you've got this woman who is only 22 and she's already like a fully qualified pilot.
Yeah, like commercial airline.
And I was going to say, and she looks like she's on a commercial airline here.
Yeah.
And she's sort of, like stabbing at the fact that people will take the piss.
Because she's attractive and femme and little and as well. We'll get into all that anyway.
Yeah. And that, how women, if they're too young, will get told that they're children, even when they're not. So it's like when you remember that you're just a teenager, and obviously she's not a teenager, she's like 22 years old. So anyway, that guy called Ian Miles Chung, I tweeted about him the other day. I have never interacted with that guy, but he comes up on my
just like pops up
on my For You page constantly on Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
So it has like 11.9 million views just on his profile.
Oh my God, does it really?
Yeah. And like loads of people being like, I wouldn't trust someone who says 22-year-old teenager to do anything right. And it's like, and people are saying that it's faked video. People are saying, like, definitely not. She's she's boastful and arrogant, too sure of herself. Comment. The answer is still no.
That was a woman that made that comment.
Yes, it is.
It's a woman saying, like, she's so boastful and arrogant, I wouldn't trust her to, like, fly a plane.
And then someone else put, I refuse to believe this is real. Any pilot needs to undergo years of learning and practice before they can even touch a cockpit. Like, are you a pilot?
I saw somebody say, this photo is clearly edited or mirrored to make it look like she's a pilot. And I was just like, that is such a fucking reach. Like, the stuff people will say to discount a young woman is unreal.
Yeah. So anyway, then she had to do like this video explaining her whole fucking CV to randomers on the internet because how dare she have a career at the age of 22. So I'm going to play that to you all now.
Is the volume up?
I'm pausing it at the start.
Okay, cool. Hopefully they can hear it.
Yeah, no,
I'll check it on the sound levels.
Old, and you decided to start your flying career where you would be at by 30. And by 30 years old, you're an airline pilot, you're rocking it, right? I did that much earlier. I had really supportive parents, and I started flying at 14. I did what's called my very first solo, where I'm completely alone in the airplane on my 16th birthday. I was never vocal about it until I went to college for flying because I knew no one is going to take me seriously. So I danced around with the idea, and then I became a private pilot at 17 years old, where I could take people and fly by myself. It was awesome. At 17, I graduated high school and went to college, where I finished in 3 years and graduated college at 22 years old.
So that is her having to explain her whole fucking career history and CV to a load of randomers on the internet who don't believe that she's good enough to be a pilot.
It's just... So, me and you have not actually had a chance to talk about this, because as soon as I realised today that you had seen the same shit I had seen,
Yeah.
and that we were both outraged, I was like, whoa, wait, save it. And you were like, we have to talk about this on the podcast,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't know about you, but the first thing for me was I read the comments underneath the original. So it's her being like, haha, when a 22-year-old teenager flies everyone around.
Yeah.
The fucking comments are a fucking, like, oh my God, they're like a bin fire. They're fucking awful. There's comments about what she looks like. There's comments calling her stupid, an airhead, that they would never get on a plane, that it's obviously going to crash. There was people like making out that they could fly the plane better than her, that there's no way she has enough experience, that she's a liar, you know, she's exaggerating, that she was probably just like allowed to take a photo in the cockpit and is making out she's a pilot. Like, and the fucking hatred from men and from women.
Yep.
There was so many women in them comments absolutely fucking laying into that woman.
But, like, I mean, we could talk, there's so much to unpack there. But even just on that point there, so many women, in a patriarchy, women are pit against each other. And then what you're presented with here is a very young woman. And, you know, early 20s is seen as, like, the peak of attractiveness in women. Yeah. Which is, you know, we could unpack that all day, but it is. Which means that women older than that often will almost like...
There's a resentment.
Yeah,
there's an envy.
Be resentful and envious.
There's also
and
an infantilization of like, oh, what, you're just a child.
But that is done on purpose to try and diminish them.
It is. Because it's like she can't be, like, for example, she can't be 22 and super smart and super skilled because she's just a fucking stupid airhead kid.
Well, but that's where the airhead thing comes in, because she's very conventionally attractive.
Yeah.
So what you've got is you've got this 22-year-old who is very attractive, and what will often happen with attractive young women is there is still the jealousy and the resentment there. Like, often from other women, not always. And they will say, oh, she's stupid, she's this, she's that. But it makes them so much more insecure, the fact that she isn't stupid, because she's a fucking pilot. How many people are skilled enough to be a pilot? Not many. And she is a pilot at the age of 22.
I know.
You know, she's extremely young. Most people haven't even graduated from their undergrads or bachelors, whatever, by that age, or they have only just done that.
Yeah.
She's flying commercial planes.
Yeah.
And it makes people feel very, very threatened, because she's already accomplished more than the majority of people will ever accomplish in their life.
Yep.
Right? But also she's desirable because she's attractive, and also she's young, so she's got youth on her side, and also she's successful and intelligent. And there isn't really a lot to pick apart there because, you know, if she was unattractive, it'd be easy to be like, you know, to ignore her. Unattractive women get ignored.
Yep.
If she was not clever, they'd be like, well, she's an airhead. And if she wasn't young, older women are often ignored because of the whole, the way that attractiveness in women is perceived. But if she was older, she would have been seen as more deserving. And so what you've got here are 3 things that people are envious of all in one.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like ageism in women, because it's an ageism mixed with misogyny, isn't it?
Yep.
Is that when people talk about ageism in women, the first thing that comes to their mind is actually older women and that invisibility of older women where like you get over the age of like 40, 50 and in a patriarchy you basically disappear because you're not sexualized as much anymore. You're not, you know, you're not sort of, because of the way sexualization works in society, you're not a teenage girl anymore. You're not, you know, youthful and whatever toned and whatever. But from my experience, and I'm sure like we'll have loads and loads of examples of this, me and you personally, and also loads of women in the public eye. Ageism towards women, and this is an example of that, is also the other end of the spectrum. So it's a hatred of teenage girls, a hatred of young women, and then also almost, actually, I would say an apathy, like a complete invisibility of older women. There is definitely Victoria Smith wrote Hag. Is it Hags that she wrote? About like the hatred of older women. I do think that exists, but I think the hatred of younger women is more like violent and volatile.
I think so because I feel like it comes from more angles, and I feel like older women are more ignored, whereas I feel like younger women
are like actively attacked and hated, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's seen as like more acceptable.
Yeah, no, that I completely agree with.
Like,
this.
oh, you know, they've still got so much to learn, and like you should respect your elders and things like that.
And it's like it's the fact that people think it's acceptable towards younger women and teenage girls, and I would say women up to about your 30s, where they think it's acceptable to be like, you'll say something they don't like and they'll be like, what do you know? You're 21.
I think...
It's like, whoa, what the fuck? How would you like if I turned around and went, well, what the fuck do you know, Sheila? You're 53. Shut the fuck up. Like that. Like nobody would think that was acceptable.
I think that one of the things that has happened is that you can be simultaneously too young or too old for something. So there were some studies recently that showed that the reasons given for women not having the exact same promotion is either she's too young to be in the boardroom or she's too old to be in the boardroom. Oh, I saw this.
It was studies on leadership.
Yeah, it was. Now, the thing with that is that if you are told you're too young yet and too inexperienced yet for something, and then as a woman, because it's not the same with men,
no,
and you're a woman, and then you work your fucking socks off, not only do you fucking, like, have kids and work like fucking 3 jobs because you're looking after your husband baby and your baby and your fucking job as well, and also the babies, also the man babies in the office, right? Sorry, man babies. Sorry. When you get older, and if you see younger women saying that they deserve the exact same rights, you might, I think a lot of older women feel a bit slighted, as if say, I had to fucking wait, you've got to fucking wait.
Do you think?
I believe so. I think it's like one of them things where it's like respect your elders, and then by the time women get older, there was never respect there for older women anyway.
They were like waiting for it, you mean?
And it never
Almost
came.
Like, when I'm older, they'll respect me. When I'm older, they'll respect me. When I'm older,
and it doesn't come because it's not.
And they don't respect me
because it doesn't work both ways. And so the next best thing that people do to feel powerful, is attack others. Now, who is more easy to attack than teenage girls or young women? And you get the sort of double-edged sword of they're easy to attack because they are young, and obviously with youth comes like often not as much confidence, not as much experience of things like handling situations and things like that. But then you've also got the other things that we've been talking about, which is the sort of misogyny, the jealousy, the the way that, I guess, every single aspect of the hatred of females can be levelled at teenage girls and young women.
Yeah.
Because especially when they are feminine. Yeah. I think in a slightly different way. So I feel like...
Well, that's because the femininity element of it further sexualises them in the eyes of other people. So not only can they infantilise them and dementalise them, but they can also just see them as like...
they
can objectify them as well. It just... I've told you this story before, but I don't know if I've ever told it on this podcast, but when I was about 24, I might have been about 25 at a push, but I think I was about 24 or 25, something like that. Anyway, I had been commissioned in my old job to write a programme of training that then had to go for a review. And then it was for over 1,000 social workers of different experiences, including social work managers. And it was in the topics of safeguarding and child sexual exploitation and human trafficking. And then it went through a review process and it was signed off. It was evidence-based. I spent ages writing it and designing it and piloting it. And then I started rolling it out. And I was in a venue and I was delivering it in front of about 50 different social workers. Majority of those were women, but not all of them. Probably I would say 80% were women, maybe 90%. And I was about an hour into the materials, maybe even 2 hours into the materials by this point. And we were looking at the new legislation, definitions. We were doing exercises around the victim blaming of children, especially teenage girls. And a woman put her hand up. And I didn't think... And I went, yeah, like, you know, have you got something that you'd like to share? And she literally just looked at me and went, how old are you? And I was like, sorry? And she was like, well, you're stood there teaching us. I want to know how old you are. And I was like... and I must have said like, 24 or 25 or whatever. And she was like, right, well, I've been in this job, you know, for like whatever she said, like 17 or 19 years or something. And I remember just standing there and thinking, one, would you ask a man that? The answer is no. And then I was like, two, at what point did you think it was like acceptable to stop a training module to ask like how old the trainer is?
That's like a power thing. Women are told that the older you get, the more respect you get, the more power you get. Yeah. So when you are, you know, a senior social worker or you're just a social worker who has been in the job for many, many years and you have many years experience, for some people, if you are then being trained by somebody much, 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 much younger than you, it feels like uncomfortable.
See, I mean, obviously, me and you are still, like, technically young, so, like, I'm 32. I have...
And I'm 18.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Honest to God. But, like, and I know that I've still got years and years to go, hopefully. But at 32, I have, and you've been there when I've met them, you know, like young master's students or undergrad students that I've come away from conversations with and I've gone, fucking hell, she was really smart. Like, she's got so much potential. Or I've said, wow, she's going to go so far. You can tell already. I met, I don't know if she listens to this. I don't know, actually. But do you remember the very young woman who was starting her master's degree and she was using my research and she was building on my PhD for her masters? Do you remember? She came up to me at the end of the Sexy But Psycho book launch, and she was with her partner. She was with a boyfriend. Fuck me, was she smart? Yeah, like she was really smart. And I told her that. I was like, you are ahead of where I was in my PhD now. And she was like, really? I was like, yes. I was like, I can tell by the way you talk. You are mentally ahead of where I was. and you are going to do fine. And you're like, do you know what I mean? And so the age gap between me and her at that point, because I would have been about 30, when Sexy But Psycho came out, was I 30 or 31? 31. So she would have been at a push 2021.
If she was doing a master's?
She was just about to, she'd not started it yet.
Should have been 21 at least.
Okay, so 21. So there was at least a decade between us. Right. And I could genuinely reflect on the fact that she was smarter than... I said that to her. I was like, you're smarter than like where I was at your age. You're way smarter than where I was. I was like, you're going to have no trouble whatsoever. You know, enjoy it, do well, whatever. If you ever need me, give me an email. Like, I hope, and me and you have spoken about this before, I fucking hope that I'm always like that.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine getting to a point where I see a video of a woman who's 22 and is an incredible pilot where I'm like mad about that.
It's like the punching down though, isn't it? Punching down will not bring you any further up. No. It'll just bring all women down.
It must make people feel, like men and women, it must make them
feel more
superior
powerful.
just in that moment.
Yeah.
But
also, you've got to also remember that if we can diminish somebody else's achievements and say, you know, like, they shouldn't do it, they're not qualified enough, it's fake, it's not
can
real.
I just stop you there, though? What you're saying there are actually two different things, aren't they? Because you're going, oh, you're not qualified enough, you're not experienced enough. But actually, what a lot of people were doing on that comment thread was claiming it wasn't real at all, that she's a liar.
Yeah, but like there's all these things. And the reason that people will do that is because they feel insecure about their own achievements. So if this woman makes them feel insecure because she has achieved so much by such a young age, and unfortunately, the way that we perceive a lot of things in the capitalist world is a timeline, and that you have got to reach certain milestones by certain ages, and if you have not hit the milestones that you wanted to hit and you feel insecure about that, and then you've got a 22-year-old woman who is a qualified pilot and doing exceptionally well, for some people, and unfortunately women especially, because of internalised misogyny,
and because they're pit against each other in a competition,
then they are going to want to diminish that person's achievements in order to make them feel better about themselves.
Right, so I accept everything you just said, and I don't disagree. So I agree with everything you've just said, especially, you know, because you were just saying, you know, it makes them insecure about their own achievements, for example, or their own, like, things that they've done in life, or where they are in life, or where they wish they were in life, for example. But I have also noticed that people who are accomplished in life also do it. And that's where it started throwing me, because I always believed that it's got to be people that were insecure about their own fucking achievements in life, where they'd not reached what they wanted, or they weren't who they wanted to be, or whatever it was, and that's why they punch down on young women. Right?
But that's
but
an
it isn't
age
true.
thing. That's the age thing, though, because we see things and we see progress as linear, right? If they see somebody doing well by a much earlier age, they will perceive that they will surpass them.
Oh, okay.
And they're worried about them
that's why
surpassing
it makes them insecure.
I believe so.
But then again, like I don't know who's listening to this. Like, if you're listening to me and Jay talk about this right now, but I don't relate to that mindset. Like, and so, but there must be people that do. And what I mean by that is that, and there'll be people listening to this that actually do feel like this. I think the most powerful thing you can do to end this, if you're one of these people, if you're listening to us and thinking, fucking hell, I do this, the first thing you've got to do is stop seeing yourself as in competition with anybody. Yeah. Like, you're not in competition with other people. They're all living their own lives. They've got their own journey, their own path, their own shit going on. They're all carrying their own stuff. Yeah, fair enough, like that woman's 22 and she's a pilot. It's fucking awesome. But it's not your life. You're not that. So you're something else. You're doing something else. You're on a different path. You've got different stuff coming for you. And you've also done different stuff and you've lived a different life. What are you, like, how? I don't get it. My
honest advice for anybody who feels like that is go to these women and celebrate them.
Yeah.
Join in with them.
Yes.
Get excited for them, because the vast majority of the time, those women will welcome you. And it feels so much nicer to be congratulating someone and getting somebody, you know, who is doing well, I guess, in a positive light compared to stomping down on them. It feels so much better. And would you not rather be in the company of the people doing well than with all of the people
in the comments?
In the comments,
yeah,
punching down on them or punching up on them. Do you know what I mean? Where would you rather be? Would you rather spend your time with people who say shit about people on the internet and bring down all of their achievements, or would you rather be the person who goes and congratulates them and spends time with them?
Yeah, for sure. This makes me think about also, if you know that you've done this, like, and you are like this, and like this, you know, that you do say horrible things, especially, or if you know and you're listening, you're thinking, yeah, no, I do make shitty comments about young women, actually, you know, like, oh well, they've barely lived, and like, oh well, I was 20 when they were born, so what do they know? That kind of shit. I hate that. I would say as well that if you consciously want to address this, every single time that thought even bubbles up, even arises, before you say shit, or before you type anything, stop yourself and genuinely, if you're capable of it, ask yourself, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Where is this coming from? Why am I mad? Why am I envious? Why am I angry right now? Why am I going to lay into this woman right now? Because, like, you this is on you to stop that behaviour. Because I've spoken about this before, and you know this. We've been together years. I'm not jealous. I'm not the jealous type. I don't feel jealousy. I don't feel envy. But when I was a teenager, I fucking did. And it was only through having to challenge it when I was about 17 and 18, where I remember, I don't know, say we were watching telly, and I don't know, it'd be something, I don't know, like the best figure skater in the world would come on, and I'd watch it and think, fucking hell, like, I wish I fucking figure skate, like, oh God, they've probably had everything handed to them, probably been doing it since they were a kid, or like, you know, they've probably got like loads of people helping them, and that's how I felt as like a teenager, and I'd be mad about it, and I'd be thinking, oh, I wish my life was like that, and about fucking Motley watching something, but like, I was about 17 or 18 and really, really had to work on it, and then once that disappeared, and it never came back, and I hope it never does come back, once that had disappeared, now if that happens, say for example, use the exact example again, if this is amazing figure skater that's come on and I'm watching them, the things that go through my head now are like, fucking hell, that must have been such hard work, look how incredible that is, the skill that is going into that, the fucking practice that's gone into that, but isn't it amazing? And like, celebrate them, like, look at how amazing they're doing.
What feels nicer?
Oh, I know.
Because does it not? You might get a little bit of like a kick out of it, but does it not make you feel overall more positive to be like, wow, that's awesome, wow, that's great, wow, isn't that brilliant? Rather than be like, that shit, she's shit, she just handed to her on a plate. Well,
oh, she's like, or in that case with the pilot, with the young pilot, it's like, oh, she's obviously lying about it. And then it was, do you know what?
Oh, she's too boastful to be a good pilot. I hope that all of my pilots on the planes that I'm ever on
know they're a good pilot.
Yeah, are very confident. I do not want a nervous pilot, thank you.
I don't want them sat in the
cockpit. I don't know if I'm very good for this. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, sat in the cockpit.
This is your pilot for today. I don't know if I'm very good. Like, oh my God, get me off.
You know what you sounded like then? You know, the worried pickup truck from Bob the Builder, where it's like, yeah, I think so.
No, it's Dizzy. No, Lofty.
No, Lofty, that was it.
Yeah, I think so. Don't be Lofty.
We don't want Lofty as a pilot, okay?
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. Can you imagine getting on and then someone comes over and it's like, today we're flying at, I don't know, 33,000 feet. I don't really like heights. I've only done this twice.
People on the internet keep on saying that I'm not very good.
I promise I am in the pilot's seat. It's not a filter. Like, you're right. You want someone that is like, I'm a fucking great pilot. I've done all these hours. I've been training for fucking years. I'm good at my job. That's why I'm here. That's who I want flying my plane.
Yeah.
You know, and do you know what was interesting? A pilot responded. I don't know if you saw it. It was a male pilot, and he was going back at a load of the trolls.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. And he was saying, if she's in that job, and he was doing like spitting facts. He was like, she's had to have done 3,000 hours of this, 2,000 hours of this. She has to have passed these things. It has to have been supervised. Then it would have been signed off. And he was explaining that they move up certain aircraft. So as you get, like, let's say 1,000 hours on that one, you're then allowed to move on to that one.
Yeah.
Then you have to do 2,000 hours on that. Then you have to do this. And he
Fucking hell, that's a lot of hours.
Yeah, I know. I was reading it, and honestly, he was like, if she's doing that, she has already clocked up like this many thousand hours of flying. And he was like, she's already an extremely experienced pilot. And he was like, I don't know what your problem is. And he was going back at people and just like explaining, that process.
But that's somebody who's insecure, who's secure.
Yeah.
And the problem is that because of the patriarchy, unfortunately, in so many situations, men are having to defend women because of the way that women are supposed to be pit against each other, where sometimes women haven't been able to get to the level of security within themselves to defend somebody else. And actually their sense of security could come from pulling them down.
Yeah.
Whereas a man is often more secure. And that is a really difficult place.
But the men are more secure though, aren't they?
That's what I'm saying. So the men are in this place where they are more secure because they've grown up in a patriarchy where they've been celebrated from a tiny baby. They'll have gone, I'm going to be a pilot, and they'll go, you're going to be a brilliant pilot. You're going to be an amazing pilot, and then they are a great pilot, and they work really hard, and then they get celebrated by everyone, and everyone's like, oh, take me on your plane, and like, oh, always knew you'd be a pilot. You've always loved planes. You've always loved the cockpit.
The cockpit. For fuck's sake.
You've always loved the cockpit. Anyway.
You've made it so sleazy now.
I know, I'm sorry, everybody. And unfortunately, if we carry on down this route of women tearing each other down, we're not going to be able to defend each other.
Well, we already don't.
We already don't. I think that, it's not a coincidence that this video has gone so viral. It's not a woman celebrating that she's a pit girl. It's a woman who's a pilot, which is a male-dominated job and industry.
Yeah.
And she is excelling at a very young age, and she represents a lot of femaleness and feminineness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't like. Women are supposed to be sexual objects to enjoy. They're not supposed to be intelligent. They're not supposed to be skilled, be in male-dominated areas, in what's seen as manly careers. They're not supposed to be intelligent or doing well in life. Yeah, because they're supposed to be a sexual object for a man to enjoy.
Yeah.
And she is not that. She's like a strong, independent woman who is excelling at a very young age.
Okay, so then, if I was to ask you, who else can you think of in the media, in like whatever, like celebs, influencers, who else gets this kind of like misogyny / ageism, this hatred of like young women?
Oh my God, there's so many, but one who springs to mind, there's two, like Millie Bobby Brown, Billie Eilish.
Yep.
I mean, like, Billie Eilish, I think, is one of the most talented singers and musicians ever. She has had to work so fucking hard. And I think as well, like, I think the music industry is more accepting of women than other industries in terms of, like, will people listen and support, as in the public, not as in the award ceremonies.
Yeah.
She has had to work so fucking hard and prove herself. And even then, look at the shit that she gets.
Yeah.
Millie Bobby Brown, an incredible actress. really, really brilliant. Been acting since she was really young. Very talented, very smart. And look at the shit that she gets.
Do you know, the thing is about this, because now, so you've just named, like, Millie Bobby Brown and, like, Billie Eilish, and then obviously we've talked about this young woman who's a pilot. If these were men, they would be seen as, like, prodigies, geniuses.
Well, let's look at male versions. So, like, I chose Millie Bobby Brown. What about the male actors in Stranger Things, who are all around the same age?
Yeah.
They're not getting the same pushback.
No, absolutely not.
You know, I mean...
So Justin Bieber is a good example. So, like, let's look at Billie Eilish versus Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber was a child. He was 14 or 15 on the first track.
He was 13.
Was he 13? Okay, so he's 13. Now, the thing is about that is that the same narratives about him being like, oh, he's just a stupid little, like, teenager.
Justin Bieber's gay.
Yeah, what does he
Remember that?
know? Yeah, right?
It wasn't what does he know, it was Justin Bieber's gay.
Well, yeah, but what I guess I'm saying is his age was seen as, like, awe. It was like, look how talented this 13-year-old boy is.
Yeah.
Like, this is incredible. Billie Eilish wrote Ocean Eyes when she was...
Phineas did, when she was
13 years
or
old.
12.
Right.
And Phineas was only... We talk
Phineas
a lot about...
would have been, what, 16?
15. So we talk a lot about Billie Eilish, but Phineas was he was only a little bit older.
I know. And I just think that same... Like, the way Millie Bobby Brown and the way Billie Eilish has been treated... It's hard for me to watch, it is, and, like, me and you have spoken about this before, it's hard to, like, sometimes it's hard, really, because sometimes, especially with the younger ones, you know, like, with, like, Billie Eilish, you just want to scoop her up and be like, don't fucking listen to these people, they're fucking, this is all their own shit, and you just hope, don't you, that she's going to be all right, but the impact this is going to have, no doubt, because we've seen it with Britney, we've seen it with Christina Aguilera, we've seen it with Miley Cyrus,
Selena.
Yeah, we've seen it with Lindsay Lohan. The impact of the fucking hatred of young, successful women in the public eye.
Yeah.
It fucking drives them to the brink. Loads of them.
And that's why people do it. So people are trolls online on purpose because as a singular troll, you don't have any power, but you know that if you're part of a trolling movement, the chances are you know that you're going to severely impact that person, and that's where their power comes from, and that's fucking disgusting. And I think that, you know, to get onto Disney, you have to be really fucking talented as a child.
Oh, for sure.
You have to be a talented child. You know, and these people have worked so hard and given so much. A lot of them don't have childhoods, and you've got fucking 10,000 twats on the internet or putting singular comments, and the impact that has, particularly on the younger women, is huge. And then you have that tightrope of the fact that women are sexualised, and girls, unfortunately, as disgusting as it is, are sexualised, which in some ways allows them to prosper. And I don't mean... And what I mean is that I wouldn't say it allows them to prosper, but if you are seen as more attractive and more sexy, people will take your talents more seriously to a point.
No, you are right.
If you are unattractive and not, and you don't have like a redeeming quality in some way that is feminine, so like, oh, she's not sure of herself, but like, do you know what, she's actually really good, or like, you know, she might not be pretty, but she has actually got a really nice voice. And it's sort of like this thing where like women are not supposed to be confident, so the women who are not confident, we feel our power by lifting them women up, but only to a point, because they can't be confident and good.
Yeah.
And it's this horrible tightrope.
Yeah, it's like if you're good, you have to be modest.
Yes, of like modesty, but also
not just
by putting yourself out
modesty,
there,
isn't it?
Yeah, but like if you putting yourself out there, that can be seen as being full of yourself.
Yeah, like, oh well, what did she expect? She's chosen to
Or even like, why is she putting videos of herself doing that on the internet? She obviously thinks she's amazing.
Yeah.
And like, oh, she's hot, but she knows she's hot, so she's not hot.
The other thing that me and you spoke about in terms of like the broader issues is the hatred of anything that teenage girls like and young women like.
I'd forgotten about that.
Do you remember that conversation?
Oh my God,
And we were talking about anything that becomes a trend or anything that becomes liked by young women or teenage girls.
Bullet journaling. Do you remember when everyone started talking shit about bullet journaling?
What? What's bullet journaling?
Oh, okay. So, you know, like my dot journals?
Yes.
So there's this thing where people use them to do everything. So, like, they use them to make calendars, they use them to make to-do lists, they use them to make habit trackers because they're so versatile. And there was loads of influencers who had, who were making bullet journal templates and showing people how to do it. And people were going fucking mad about it on TikTok for a while.
What, being like, oh, this is like
This
airhead
is
bullshit?
and
Oh
like,
my God.
like, oh, this is what like happens when you've got loads of colourful pens, but you've not got anything good to write about.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But like, I mean,
That's just one like weird little niche example, but like
bigger examples are things like anything. So, like, for example, the hatred of certain bands because teenage girls love them, or the hatred of certain TV shows because teenage girls love them.
The hatred of certain drinks
Yes.
because teenage girls like them.
Yeah.
Like the hatred of TikTok dancers because teenage girls like them. Like, if you're going to be like, oh, get off your tech and go outside, the girls go outside and start dancing. Oh, you're not allowed to do that, though. Like,
Yeah.
they're doing a fucking dance. Leave them alone.
It's like, you know, like the hatred of the Twilight, you know, like sort of saga, and then like the hatred of One Direction.
Yep.
You know,
Justin Bieber.
the hatred of Justin Bieber,
And that's so interesting as well, isn't it? Because
is it
earlier
because
we were
young
talking
women
about...
pay them attention.
Well, earlier we were talking... Possibly, but earlier we were talking about, like, oh, you know, Justin Bieber did get his, like, sort of fair share of shit. But it was like, oh, Justin Bieber's gay. But is that because people were jealous of him?
Because girls fancied
Because
him.
girls fancied
And then,
him.
like, boys
And
and men
also
were
the
getting
misogyny
annoyed.
of if girls like something, it's stupid.
No, that's the other element of it. I think you're absolutely right. Is the whole, well, if teenage girls and young women are the majority fans, then it must be fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
It must be stupid. It must be like, what's the word? Like shallow is the word that always comes to my mind. It must be shallow bullshit because teenage girls like it and teenage girls are thick. Do you know what I mean? I think we do this a lot. Like, we do this with every... Like, if you think about all different fashions and trends and stuff, the things that teenage boys are into is not ridiculed in the same way.
Oh my God, not at all. I can't... What are teenage boys into?
Andrew Tate.
Like,
What teenage boys
sports.
into? Yeah, but this
Or
is the thing, you
like-
just like generically went sports, and funnily enough, as you said that, my brain went music,
Yeah.
but I can't name a specific teenage boy music.
Because it's not
Because there isn't one.
seen as like a thing for them.
But then I was thinking, like, is that just because our teenage boys they're not very specific, are they, our kids? Do you know what I mean? As in, like, they've got a very broad music taste, and then they've got a very broad...
Well, the younger one does, but at school, I know that when I ask him what kind of music is cool, and he says like, oh, South London music, like South
Talking
London,
about, like, grime and drill and stuff like that.
but like that's not ridiculed. I mean, there is a ridicule of it, but that actually stems from racism.
Yeah, it does.
Not from the fact that teenage boys like it.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Which is very, very different.
Yeah. It's sad as well because the amount of damage, I mean, ultimately what we're talking about here is the abuse and the like the harm
And the conditioning
the belittling
of young girls.
Yep,
That
yep.
it doesn't matter how good you get at something,
you're still stupid.
you're still a stupid girl.
I wonder if it's about...
And if you think that you're a grown
you-
woman in the world in your 40s or 50s and you've been through that your whole life and also encouraged to pit yourself against women and other women,
Yeah.
that's going to happen. All of these things.
One of the most revolutionary acts you can do for yourself, if you're a woman listening to this, is to stop fucking playing into this shit. Do it for yourself. Do it for all the women around you. Do it for your daughters. Do it for your fucking sisters. Do it for your friends. Stop it. Just stop playing a part in it. You know what I mean? If everybody...
Celebrate your friends. Celebrate women who aren't even your friends, who you just know a little bit.
Or that you just found out had done something. Or, like, as an example...
Write a comment on the next woman who's done something cool. Yeah. Write a comment and congratulate her.
Yeah. So today I was on LinkedIn and a woman, I won't name her, but a woman me and you met, who was like right at the beginning of her... I don't want to be too specific, but right at the beginning of her career. And... she put up a post saying that she couldn't believe it. Not only had she been promoted, but she'd also applied for a very specific, very like specialist role that she really, really wanted to do, and she got it. And she got told that she had it today, and I instantly congratulated her immediately.
Yeah,
like she's so early on in her career, and then she has worked so hard, and she was promoted through a normal promotion process, but then she also applied for this special role, and she got that. And there's just not enough of actually genuinely supporting each other. We're fucking... The amount of people that are right there to be like...
But can you imagine...
You know, criticising and scrutinising each other.
Can you imagine what we could do if women all started supporting each other? And I'm not being... You know, I'm not saying like, oh, women should blindly support each other. That's not what I'm saying. But at least... afford them the same respect that you give to men at that level, because women will all do better if we all support each other at the level that men do.
Men are a more powerful collective than women are. No two ways around that.
Yeah.
The reason men club together and remain loyal to each other no matter what some man has done, is because it protects them, and they know where the fucking bread's buttered. Women are shit at that. But
it doesn't serve them.
Women will destroy each other,
yeah,
and then sit there moaning about it, being like, "Oh, why are we like this?"
From another woman as well.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what people hear? We hear that quite a lot, and it's like, well,
yeah, it's like shock, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, God, a woman said that?
Just
right?
as like, I mean, there's when we do training, there's a lot of different stats and evidence bases that we talk about, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, because this is one that you usually discuss, but for decades now, women's victim blaming of other women have increased so much so to the point that it is now, in many studies, starting to slightly surpass men's victim blaming of women.
Yeah, that's right. So in the 60s, when we used to do attitudinal studies, you'd find that men victim blamed women much more than the women did. But then as the years have gone on, men's victim blaming has stayed pretty static. It's women's victim blaming that's increasing. And so, as like Jamie's just said, you've now got, like in my studies, in my PhD, I found no sex difference whatsoever in victim blaming attitudes. So men and women were doing it at exactly the same rate. But there have been studies now that suggest that women do it more.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And that's where we're headed.
Like, are we gonna?
This is
as feminists, that's something that needs to be fucking discussed. And like, women
the
just don't
patriarchy's
want this
biggest tool is women at other women.
Yeah.
What other social justice cause is there where they are at each other's throats in this way? Like, do you know what? Like, I'm a radical feminist. I don't agree with a lot of what liberal feminists say, but we're all coming at it from a very similar perspective, all with very similar goals in mind. Like, have discussions with me. I'm not going to report you to your employer because you don't agree with my stance on sex work, but I think we should all report the guy to his employer who's saying that it's okay to rape 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate made a video recently where he slipped up and said that he had sex with 15-year-olds.
Did he really?
Yeah, and then he slipped up and he went, sorry, 16, it's because it's 16 in Romania.
What the fuck? How does that make it better?
I know. But, like, this is what I mean. Like, we are getting to the point, even in feminism, where we are so quick to judge other women that we will spend days trying to destroy another woman because we slightly disagree on a niche issue than we are a fucking guy from our local university who thinks that it's okay to create child sex dolls and campaign for the letter P for paedophiles to be included in LGBT.
I read a thing once that said imperfect feminism is still better than misogyny.
Yeah. I agree.
I think that's what it said. I might have made the last bit though. I can't remember now. I'll have to go and look
maybe
it up.
better than patriarchy. I don't know. I don't like.
Yeah, it might be. It might be better than. Do you know what though? I will say because.
And the more
in terms of like.
Can I just say one quick thing before I forget? The more we bring down these younger women, the more we are going to increase the levels of hatred between women. The further back we are going to go in women's rights.
Yeah, but I do think that's deliberate.
Of course it is. Sorry, carry on.
That
was a TV remote.
Wrecking the joint.
It actually only dropped like 3 inches.
Did it drop onto the little table?
Yeah, it dropped onto the table from the settee arm. Can I get the music channel playing now?
I know, I was just going to say, I was just waiting for like something boom out of the TV. It's usually the way, isn't it?
It is.
Do you know what I was going to say was that I think if we go back to the age thing and like misogyny thing, I actually think I'm guilty of this, but from the angle, I know that I've thought this, as I said, I started my career at 19, I'm 32. I know that I have spent the last 10 years being like, people will respect me more soon, people will respect me more soon, people will respect me more soon. And I'm now at 32, I'm thinking, it's not working. And so...
In some environments they do, and in some environments they don't.
Well, you know how I feel about this. It's the PhD that affords me respect in places. And I think as a young woman, for me, having doctor at the beginning of my name protects me and sort of gives me an element of credibility that is taken away by the fact that I'm young, female and feminine. So... and don't get me wrong, the PhD doesn't protect all of that because it doesn't. No. Because if I was a man with a PhD, I wouldn't get half the shit that I get.
Yeah.
You know, as you well know, and like some of you that follow me on social media will know, that I often make very similar arguments to other male academics and male psychologists in my own field, and I will put up almost identical arguments, and I will get trolled for weeks and abused and have complaints put in against me for the same arguments that male psychologists with this PhD, same as me, and they'll say the same thing and there'll be nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so some of it isn't protective, but some of it is. But I know that I have definitely, I like hold my hands up, I have definitely spent years thinking, oh, it'll get better as I get older, it'll get better. And it won't.
I think
it's not true.
I think that's what is hard as well. And this is something that I've had to battle with personally, is that I feel that I've definitely been in situations where I have benefited from being seen as conventionally attractive to have my fucking ideas listened to.
Yeah.
And I am worrying that as I'm getting older, because we see attractiveness as decreasing with age after a certain point in your mid-late 20s, I worry.
Do you think it's that early?
Yes.
Do you?
I think it can be, yeah. I think that as that goes on, I worry that I'm not going to be listened to. And that's really hard because that means that my perception is that attractiveness is rated higher than experience and age.
And intellect. But then, hang on a minute, just to play devil's advocate, if you push that a little bit further,
more of a comment than a question.
The woman who is seen as very attractive actually will be seen as a fucking airhead.
Yes, agreed.
So I was just thinking, I do get what you're saying, I think you're right, but if it was a woman who was very, very attractive and glam or whatever.
Well, I'm never going to get to that level of attractiveness.
Well, I'm just saying, like, because obviously there's loads of very intelligent, very, very beautiful women. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? And they're always gonna, their appearance is always going to be sort of seen as more important than the fact that they're actually really smart and that they've got a lot to offer the world. And I was just thinking about, as an example, who was in my head? Paris Hilton who was in my head. Paris Hilton has been positioned as a fucking idiot.
And she's actually very intelligent.
She's fucking really, really,
I've watched
really
interviews
smart.
with her recently. I was taken in by that. As a kid, I thought that she was a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I think we were
And
all
like a bitch.
led...
Like, I always thought she was an airhead bitch.
Yeah, and we were all...
Who carried a little stupid dog around in a stupid bag.
Right, exactly. So,
Right?
yes, exactly. So, she's got a stupid bag with a stupid little dog in it. Like, so, like, all of that is that hatred of young women.
Sorry, I'm just thinking the South Park episode.
Yeah, I know which one you mean. Where the dog keeps trying to kill itself.
Oh my god, stop it.
I watched way too much South Park. For any of you studying a PhD especially, South Park is an excellent way of getting through a PhD, in my experience. But yeah, no, like Paris Hilton, if you ever like sit and listen to her, and you know the other person who always comes to my mind? Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson.
She is so intelligent.
She is. She's extremely politically motivated
her
and smart.
class analysis is excellent.
I know.
She is so intelligent, and for years she was seen as. But is that something that's come with age? Because she's still I don't know. Is it that the age of the people who found her attractive are all moving with age, and now she is still seen as attractive, and now she's or is it just that she's got a platform and she's left wing? And she is established. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to know that one.
It's difficult because there's so many intersections.
Yeah, there is.
And I think that this is where, I mean, I also want to acknowledge that on this podcast we've predominantly talked about white women. And
I was actually just thinking about Michelle Obama while you were talking about this.
yeah, I think, but the reason is more that, like, I think that because of the way that black women and women of different races are seen, they're sexualised in different ways.
Yeah, they are.
They are pathologised in different ways.
Yep.
Their experience and their class
Yep.
is seen differently.
Yep.
Literally from like class to class, country to country,
Yep.
accent to accent, in different ways to white people, that I'm not sure that I have the expertise to talk about that in the same way that I have done with the examples that I've given, but also the fact that the vast majority of, you know, kids on Disney and the examples that we've given are white anyway, because it's the white ones who are being given more opportunity.
The thing is with black, I would say so black girls, like teenagers and young women, one of the specific issues that they face is adultification.
Yeah, that's so true, actually.
Yeah, so they have like a different, they face different challenges essentially, different forms of oppression because they're adultified. White girls are infantilized, black girls are adultified. So like they're very much seen as adults, they're held responsible. They're not allowed to have childhoods. They're
That's
forced
so
into
true.
adult life, and that's part of the racism. And then the other thing
I remember at school, if I'm to think about it now, I definitely think, looking back, the black children in my year group and in my classes and the black girls, definitely by the teachers, were expected more of. But is that they were less tolerant of them if they like misbehaved?
Well, yeah. Well, that's part
or
of it as
is it the narrative? Is it the sort of, I don't know.
In safeguarding, there is the argument that they're essentially framed as little adults, and so so for example, it's much less likely that for social workers, police officers and teachers and stuff to like safeguard black girls that are being abused, that are being exploited,
because they're seen as being able to like hold their own.
Yeah, or that they're aggressive. They're actually seen as problematic and aggressive.
Oh, okay, so it comes from that.
So there's that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, there's that complication. And then the other thing I was going to bring up, just because you'd said like a lot of the examples we've given are of white women, which they are actually, is that one example of like a woman who is seen as an airhead and like an idiot who is extremely smart is Nicki Minaj.
Yes.
Because she's got like,
that's true.
So she trained in law because she wanted to be a lawyer. So
Yeah.
the first thing that she wanted to do was law, and then she worked on Wall Street for years, and then she actually decided to train in drama and theatre, which is where all the voices and like her characters.
How old was she when?
She was older than a lot of like other hip hop artists when she.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Just I'm not asking like that in the way of like how old was she, like what, like. It's just that a lot of people, like our listeners might know, and this is something we talk about a lot in the music industry. You have to be very young to enter it.
And Nicki Minaj
and if
was
she
not.
did a law degree and studied in drama and worked on Wall Street,
yeah, she did.
She must have been mid-20s.
Yeah, she was at least. I would say. I want to say. How old is she now? I'm trying to think.
I don't know. I
to
thought
think.
she was like maybe mid-30s.
She did an amazing interview once about her life, and well, she's done several like really, really good ones, and she's so interesting. Like she was saying that, you know, it's where all of her like creativity really was able to like she was able to practice and she was able to let it loose. That's when she started learning doing all accents, because she does a lot of accents. She does a British accent all the time, and she has all these alter egos, and she could do like costume design. That's one of the things she studied. So like she has this massive interest in fashion because she was started to design clothes and she started to design costumes in theatre and things like that. So she's got this like whole tapestry sort of background of different skills, and like obviously she trained in law. And I heard her give an interview before where she's like, you know, I am perceived as stupid, and just like from the streets.
I thought that when I was a kid, when I was like in my early teen years, but that was from the "You a Stupid Hoe" song. But now that I have re-listened to that as an adult, she's fucking so funny.
Yeah, I mean, she's
and like as a drama piece,
extremely funny.
Like all of her songs are like almost like drama pieces, but she is definitely perceived as like a stupid young hoe.
But like, if
do you know what I mean? Like people are like, oh, she's just like she's a fucking slut.
Yeah.
Like.
But if you look at Stupid Hoe is a really good example of this, because she's like, you're a stupid hoe.
She says you are.
Yeah.
Which and then do you remember the memes where people used to correct people's grammar? And it was like "your" with like an apostrophe "re."
Yeah.
Like,
but,
stupid.
But what I'm getting
at
is she has caricatured like this thick bimbo. She does it on purpose. It's like, you a stupid hoe. Like really like on purpose.
Yeah.
But that's because she's playing a role. And also, she is mocking somebody for being stupid. So she is putting on a bimbo, like stupid voice. So she's playing with it. And she's really, really good at that. But obviously, if you don't understand the music, you don't get the jokes, for example, you're not listening to the lyrics,
well,
you're not going to understand
that. Well, I think that you have to be a fan of her specifically to understand her individual jokes, actually.
Yeah, probably. But I do think that I would think that of most artists, like for example, like artists of all kinds
have got inside jokes that a lot of people know about.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
but people haven't afforded her that same respect.
That's because she's a woman, though.
Because she's a woman. Because she is conventionally attractive. Because she is quite sexualized.
Yeah.
People wouldn't even know or care. Not care. But would never in a million years think that Nicki Minaj trained in law and worked on Wall Street.
No, I know. She speaks about that a lot as well. If any of you are listening to this and you need to go and watch those interviews, because she's really, really fucking interesting to listen to, actually.
I mean, obviously when I first got with you, I used to take the piss because you loved Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
But then we obviously have done so much long distance driving because we've been training and stuff for years, that I've ended up listening to her albums over and over again, and that, like, as I've begun to listen to them, she is so fucking funny.
Yeah, she is.
And so clever with her jokes. That the world has been quite happy to just make her out to be a thick bimbo.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, this is a whole other podcast. We could do a whole other podcast on hip hop, but like hip hop, a lot of hip hop is comedy. Like,
yeah.
It's like set up punchline, set up punchline, set up punchline, and it's like linking back to another
yes,
joke.
That's
that
what
said.
I love. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you'll
and
be
she does that so well.
Yeah, she does, and she does it also across albums and across songs. So
Yeah.
she'll reference a joke she made like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And like if you know,
and it catches you off guard, and it's so funny.
Yeah, and you'll be listening to it, and you'll think, that was clever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's really cool. But I think that, I guess, the message, the few things to take from this is that, would you say it to a man? Could you do something in your life to celebrate more women?
Yep.
And
yep.
Are you uncomfortable celebrating other women, and why? And also, would it make you feel better to celebrate other women and have them celebrate you? Because there is not a woman on this earth, I don't really think, maybe there's a few, I don't know, who haven't done something that isn't worth celebrating.
Mm.
Celebrate yourself, let other people celebrate you, and celebrate other women.
Yeah, and I would say also, you know, I think my takeaway would be...
A Chinese.
Don't. That's funny.
Me and Jess are on a diet.
Why have you just announced it to like fucking 100,000
I'm
people?
sorry.
I can't edit it out because we do one take.
I'm sorry. I've been thinking, we've not had our weekly Chinese, and I'm like, I really want some salt and chili chips.
Do
But
you?
No,
Is that what you're craving?
No, I actually don't. I'm actually doing quite well.
I think we're doing all right. We are.
Anyway, diet culture is bad, but me and Jess work really late and then
Yeah, and then we just
eat
eat
shit.
shit. So we are just, more than anything, we're trying to be a lot healthier.
Healthier, yeah, that's true.
And just trying to look after ourselves more because we've both got health stuff going on. So we both need to like look after ourselves a little bit more.
We do.
And, you know, stop ordering Chinese and then eating them slowly through the week out of the fridge.
Yes. Just gonna reheat this rice, babe. Keep getting ill, I can't figure it out.
Jamie for like 2-3 days being like, do you want chicken balls again? No, stop it.
Like a ninja them.
Yeah, no, just Jamie going, I'm just going to pile it all in the ninja.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Just get your mouth shut now. We better go.
Yes.
We've been on for ages. I don't know how they keep listening to us for this long.
Yeah, thank you for listening to that. I just want to say that it's always really, really nice when I get, and probably the same for you, when we get messages about the Womb podcast.
I've had so many nice messages this week from
Yeah.
women listening to the podcast. It's been lovely.
Yeah, I really, really like it. I feel like we're in like a big family. A very big family of nearly 110,000 of you.
Oh yeah, that's what we wanted to finish. I wanted to finish on saying this, right? You know, last time we were on the podcast and we like told everyone, look, you know, if you just keep clicking it and playing it, we might get to like 1 million downloads, right? Me and Jamie had to look at the stats, and since last week, you've all downloaded the podcast like 3,665 times, right? Mm. Now, that's a little bit higher than normal. It's up 30%, right? Can you just let us know somehow? Is it because you've sat there and been like, okay, I'm a good fan, I'll just keep playing this and keep downloading it? Or
is it, but we have promoted this one more.
Have we massively increased our listening?
Yeah, but we've promoted this one more, so like I've tweeted about it, it's been on my Insta, we've put it on your Facebook, whereas usually we don't do that.
Oh, I know what we were going to do.
What?
We were going to tell everybody about the Australia tour.
Oh, yeah!
Because there's fucking like 100,000 people listening.
And we keep charting in Australia.
Yeah. So...
But we don't chart in New Zealand as much, but we definitely chart in Australia all the time.
Yeah, somebody said to me the other day, you know, they were like, you're really well known in Australia. And I was like, fucking are we?
Aww.
Anyway, so We are coming to Australia. We're coming to New Zealand and Australia. We're flying out on the 18th of August. We're going to be in New Zealand for a few weeks working. Got lots of interesting events. We're in Auckland, Hamilton, Tauranga, Christchurch, Wellington. Is that all of them? I feel like there's one missing.
I think there's a couple missing there.
Okay,
but like,
fine.
yeah.
And then we're flying over to Oz and we are doing events in Bris, Byron, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth. And that's in September, and we've got tickets. So come and see us.
Yeah.
And say hi.
We're discussing the item, and if you go onto like your link tree on your Instagram or onto the Victim Focus website,
You can get tickets and find out where we are.
Yeah, you can grab some tickets.
It's going to be so cool. We are so excited. We should do a whole podcast on just like Charlie. Also, we're thinking about doing a video diary.
Yes, we are.
Because we're away for 2 months.
Yeah, more than 2 months. Over 2 months we're away for.
Really?
We're away
Yeah, no, it's not.
middle of August to
October. We come back.
middle of October.
Oh, it's just less than 2 months.
Is it?
It's going to be a long time, though.
Yeah, gonna miss the dogs.
I know, I knew you were going to say that.
Especially that one over there.
She don't give a shit. Look at her. She's got a little bat. She's got Jamie got her it's like it was a bat filled with beans. Jamie had to like get all the beans out of it because Castro pierced it.
No, it was the other one.
Oh, was it Lilith that pierced
Yeah.
it? Yeah, so anyway, every time they played with it, some beans fell out of his bum. So Jamie had to take all the beans out of the bat. Anyway, so Castro...
She carries it with her everywhere
Castro's
now.
got
It's
this
so
really cute little bat, and it's got like flappy wings, and she just carries it everywhere.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to miss the knobs. But they are in very, very good hands.
They are. And anyway, if you can come and see us in Australia or New Zealand,
Yeah.
give us a shout.
And console me and bring your dogs.
Also, can I just
Oh my god,
add,
if the venue allows it, bring your dogs.
Can I just add?
Yeah.
No, because you'll cry and miss the dogs.
I won't, I'll just be excited about other dogs.
Can I just add, I had a look at our stats for the massive influx of new listeners, and they're all Canada and North America.
Well,
So
we're going to have to come and do a tour around Canada and North America.
We are definitely coming over, because we've got loads of people
Yeah,
asking
we've got
us
some
to do
work to
stuff
do over there. Yeah.
But it'll be next year now, because me and Jay do at some point need a rest.
Yes.
But yeah, no, we wanted to tell you about Oz and New Zealand. Make sure you come and see us. If you don't know how to get tickets, or you don't understand, or you need some more information, just give one of us a message.
Yeah, drop us a
We're everywhere on
message.
social media. We're omnipresent.
Omnipresent, we are. And I have sleeping issues, so I might wake up at like 3 a.m. and reply to your message.
Yeah, it's like Jamie's getting into like training to get into the new time zone.
I don't know why it keeps
Well, we
happening.
both are actually, because we're not sleeping properly at the moment, are we?
Happy summer solstice.
I know,
For a couple of days ago.
That was amazing too.
It was good.
It's lovely.
Right,
shall we
let's let
go?
everybody go.
Let's let them go. Sorry,
It's like we're on the phone.
Holding you hostage on this podcast. Not like you can just turn it off whenever you want and fuck off.
It's like when you're on the phone and British people are like, right, I'll let you go. Slap sneeze. Right.
Stands up. Goes, right.
Thank you so much, everybody. We hope that you are having a great day doing whatever you're doing, and we will see you all soon.
See ya.
Let's do a cheers with our plastic cups.
No, because it'll sound wank. Listen. That was embarrassing.